Hello, my name is Valentina Pomazan. I came from Romania. I am tenure professorship in Ovidius University of Constanța. It's working, yes. And I'm here to talk with you about international trade with the big hope that I will learn a lot from you, more experience than am I. So because the international trade means exchange of goods, capital, commodities in general, beyond frontiers, I would like to feel your rhythm, to feel your groove regarding the international trade. So I would like you to consider a scale of 1 to 3, where 1 is bad, I'm not glad, I'm not satisfied, I'm indifferent, or I don't know it, or I don't care, or glad, satisfaction, you got the thing. Regarding the import and export in your country for different items like diversity, research, local employment, and everything. Okay, let's start rapidly. Regarding the diversity, who considers that diversity is enhanced or beneficial for himself and the dear one around him, or his region, or his town? Regarding the import, are there any ones? Hands up. Yes. 2 ones. Yes. How many 2? How many 3? Yes. Diversity of products, diversity of tastes, of experiences, of whatever. Okay. In our country or nearby me. Okay. So 1, 2. With 2, how many hands up? Raise your hand when you consider this as a 2. Just 1, 2. And with 3, the rest of us, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 or 3, 24, more or less. Regarding the research security, research means earth, means water, means materials, raw materials. Do you consider that they are endangered, or import is an incentive for your resources? 1, who is dissatisfied? 1, 2, 3, 4, who is like indifferent? Will not just the first, just your groove, just not comments, there are a lot. And 3, just your hint on your traditional. Okay, so what is no 3s here? I said 2 indifferent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 like 14. And yes, we will not comment just if you feel endangered, or you consider that import is an incentive for your water, your iron or copper or wheat or land, just your field as it is right now. Okay. Is anybody satisfied with this one? Considers that import is an incentive and it's glad? So this is a nice thing also. Local employment. Do you think that the labor in your region is endangered or by imports, or imports are an incentive for local labor? Bad, yes, bad. 1, 1, 3 is glad. 1, bad. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so like 4. 2, 4, and 3, like 1, just 1. Knowledge transfer, do you consider that knowledge transfer is enhanced when importing? Okay, so how many ones? Dissatisfied? How many indifferent people? Everybody. Like 4. And how many very satisfied with this assertion? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8. Let's see, 24. Regarding the technology transfer, do you think that importing things in general, not only agriculture, enhances the technological transfers? If you are Chinese, everybody should respond like, yes? So I should put how many of us? 24. So 1. There are ones, 1. With 2? With 3? Everybody else, like 12 or let's say the same. Environment protection, imports. 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. 2, indifference. 5, 10. And glad? Satisfied? No. Health, regarding the health, what about the imports? Do you think imports threaten your health or are supposed to boost your health? 1, 6, 7. Yes, indifferent? Yes. 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 Okay. Indifferent? 5. And glad? Like, yes, it's 1. Okay? Arara. No. It's not the intensity of things. So you are a 1, I think. You are. Okay. And nobody thinks that imports are good for our health? No. Okay. So the same drill rapidly for the export. Do you think that exporting, you experience diversity? You stimulate diversity in your region? More or less. We will not do this. You got the idea. Do you think that your resource security is menaced by exporting labor, goods, any kind of commodities? More or less. Is endangered? Yeah, so it would be like, let's put like this because I will not high here, okay? Do you think local employment is enhanced, is triggered? So it's a good impact for, it's better for here. Knowledge transfer. So it's okay to export. Technology transfer, it's okay to transfer, yes, better. No one thinks either way. Environment protection. So it's a lot of 2, yes? And health? It's indifferent? So this is the groove, this is the feeling in this room regarding their own involvement, their own perception regarding the import and export. Thank you. I will let this a little bit like this. It's okay? You can see the, just in order for you to meditate on the issue. And let's talk about imports. As you have seen, all my predecessor speakers were so brilliantly coherent. I don't know if I can add something more. regarding the importance of agricultural trade, I just say that nowadays agricultural commodities is the second trade issue, trade subject, international trade subject, after the crude oil products and oil products, and before the electronics. Okay, and it's somewhere the second. It's okay to understand that developing countries increase these export, and that traditional crops play an important role in many countries. In EU, per total, the agri-food balance is now positive. So since like 12 years in EU exports more than imports agricultural commodities. So more or less all countries are involved in agricultural trade and of goods and foodstuff. And the high dynamics and volumes of trade in these goods are associated with a general increase in world consumption. And the engines of world trade in agricultural goods and foodstuffs are currently populous, rapidly developing countries. So the countries from outer world, from a centrist perspective, are feeding us, more or less. That's the question. Here are some just qualitative graphics. You'll have the details in the slide, just to see that these are the years. Can you, okay? So these are the years. I show this one. The years. These are country per alphabetical order. And these are the percentages of export and international trade, international trade per country. So as a general observation, in 2022, there is an increase per some products in agricultural food linked with large crops. The success of agriculture depends not only on the technical, but on the financial and administrative support to the produce and exporters. Traditional views on the role of the government in the agricultural trade refer to the government should correct the market failure or externalities. The government should provide public goods or correct for imperfect competition or involve in equity establishment and income redistribution. And I would let you to think about your own country where this kind of equity is established by governmental intervention. In Romania, definitely this is the case. You don't have in Bulgaria. The trade models are developed by wiser people than me. And I should say that in Black Sea basin countries, the country similarity model is the one that applies the most because the consumers have similar level of income per capita and more or less the same consuming patterns. There are other theories like international product life cycle theory, intra-industry trade, the new trade theory, Porter's national competitive, the gravity model of trades that involves that the large consumption on the large transportation acts as a gravity attractor for the international trade itself. So the economy size is the main attractor that models the trade. I will not emphasize these models. These are more theoretical. You should get them from the materials and approach them if you consider necessary with your students. By the way, this presentation is not my presentation as for you multipliers, but is that sort of presentation that you can get ready and ready for using by you in your future endeavor as instructor. So it has like 50 slides, and it's like this. I will just make a diagonal view on this presentation. So you multipliers, translate it in your language. In Romania, it is already translated, and you'll have the presentation ready for your performance as an instructor. Okay, very interesting in international trade is the issue of price and price fluctuations. So you must know that the important role in increasing the amplitude of price fluctuation is the speculative factor. This is generated by political factors, by non-legal agreements and everything. And this can beat the usual factors that establish the price as the imbalance of the elements of the market mechanism, the lack of effective system, or for regulating world food trade, the rise in energy prices, impossibility for developing country to use their natural and labor potential for the development of such activities in agriculture, the growth of well-being, the measures taken by the governments of many states, which are protective measures. We already had the discussion regarding the European Union quotas for various products. The regulatory and legal framework regarding the international trade is overwhelming. We have the World Trade Organization established in '95, and it's the cornerstone of a rule-based multilateral system for trade. Is the main place where you can find information regarding what and where and how can you trade and with whom you can trade. We have also the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization, a specialized agency of United Nations that leads international efforts to defeat hunger. So while WTO is a rule-based organization, Food and Agriculture Organization is a nation, United Nations area of action. What are the rules under which we will perform our trade? The Codex Alimentarius Commission. Who knows about Codex Alimentarius? No one. Yes, was established is a very controversial issue established and enforced like 12 years ago. It's a system of rules to ensure that food is safe. So the Codex Alimentarius can define what is milk. So not every white liquid can be called milk, unless, and so on. What can be called chocolate? What can be called tea? If herbal teas are supplementary nourishment supplements or medicine, what you call medicine. So this lead to such strange issues like chamomile was suddenly excluded from the shelves as a medicinal plant with medical indication, but now everybody on the chamomile tea, chamomile packages, chamomile containing stuff, any kind of stuff, must label under the supplements as a supplement. So this is the issue for most of what we traditionally know of the plants and even mineral minerals like salt. Also, Codex Alimentarius has had important contribution in defining water as an element. And water, if you look at your bottles, has an expiring date. This is because the salt also, not because of the chemistry, but because of the chemistry, because the water is mostly bottled in plastic. And since 2018, a certain component of the plastic was expelled from the composition of the plastic, but still you cannot have water defined as water appropriate for human consumption unless your water stays within the expiring date. And things like this. These are only few examples of what Codex Alimentarius does, and much more. The CPC agreements are a set of rules for food safety and requirements for animal and plant health. And it recognizes the right of governments to adopt and enforce measures necessary to protect human, animal, or plant life or health. The TPT agreements cover a wider variety of product standards and regulation and adopted by governments to achieve a range of public policy objectives, such as protecting human health and safety or protecting the environment, providing consumer information and ensuring product quality. TPT agreement is the main devil you must praise when you want to label your product. Okay, so you must address. International trade regulation and standards are very customized, and each country establishes procedure and conditions for the purchase of agricultural product from agro producers and organizations and individual entrepreneurs. Most countries establish rules for the functioning of markets, which provides the list of essential terms of the agreement on the provision of a trading place. Trade regulation refer to testing, inspection and certification, conformity assessment, product certification and accreditation, and other technical regulation. This is a jargon used by the country when enforces a law regarding what it allows or does not allow to be imported versus exported. So this is an answer. Who makes these rules? Policy makers do. Who are they? The people you elect, or you have the impression that you elect, or something. Okay. General characteristics of agricultural products, trade and specific regulation for EU are under the responsibility of European standardization organization like CN, Senelec, and ETSI, and can be used to support EU legislation and policies. It's a large issue for the European Commission because the international trade with agricultural product has a very big chunk of international trade in EU. The general characteristics of product trades are further particularized for each country, as Armenia. And shortly, I will go through. Armenia has been a member of Russian-led Eurasian Economic Union since 2015 and has free agreements with Commonwealth of Independent State countries. Has also a free trade agreement with neighboring Georgia. Is able to export certain products to the United States and European Union under generalized system of preferences programs. Standards for trade are determined by Armenians' commitments with the Eurasian Economic Union and national legislation. At national level, issues related to standard and technical regulation are the responsibilities of body under the Ministry of Economy. Armenian companies have been granted a transitional period to comply with EU technical regulation. So in each slide for each country, you will find what is the main framework of agreements that country is in order to be able to import something? And what are the main bodies that regulate the import for agriculture product? So in order for a Romanian partner to export something in Armenia, it must comply, it must address the National Body for Standard and Metrology and the Ministry of Economy in order to get the instruction for compliance of their product. The same thing for Bulgaria. As you know, Bulgaria is one of the leading agriculture exporters of crops in Southeastern Europe, along Romania. And 2 years ago, the share of agriculture industry in Bulgarian gross domestic product accounted like 5%, with industry at 27% and services at 67%, as in Romania also. For the next period, Bulgaria will have access to some USD farmers, support and development of Bulgaria's agriculture industry. So Bulgaria will be supported by you with 8 billion of contributors, and will be able to tap into EU funding and buy new equipment. Each law, regulation, ordinance, Council of Ministries decree decisions enters in force after appears in the official publication in the State Gazette, only in Bulgarian. So if you want to import something in Bulgaria, you must be aware of the legislation published there. And the institution linked with trade standards are Bulgarian Institute for Standardization, Institute for Metrology, State Agency for Metrological and Technical Surveillance, Drug Agency, Ministry of Health, and Accreditation Services. In the material, you'll have links for these departments and organisms and bodies. For Georgia, if you are interested, at minimum, imports in Georgia require a declaration, an invoice, and transport documentation at a minimum. The customs codes of Georgia does not require financial guarantees from importers to Georgia prior to the customs clearance, except for the temporary entry of goods. The main standard organization in Georgia is National Agency for Standardization, Technical Regulation, and Metrology. All the partners and the links of these bodies are listed in the guide. Greece imports significantly more food and beverage than it exports. To the extent that European Union food laws have been harmonized, Greece's food laws and regulations follow European Union rules. Food safety is the primary responsibility of the Greek Ministry of Rural Development and Food Cooperation, with a General Chemical State Laboratory of Greece and Ministry of Citizen Protection, with occasional involvement at the Greek Ministry for Development and Commerce. So these are the general bodies involved in international trade, and the Greek Food Safety Authority responsible for enforcing the regulation and collecting samples for selling points to check compliance with food legislation. One should check FAS Greece Gain Report in order to have a hint about what's happening with you if you want to export something in Greece. Romania remains a net food importer, and we also comply with European Union rules. Phytosanitary certificates are required for most planting seeds, fresh fruit, vegetables, and other plant materials. Sanitary certificates for commodities composed of animal products or byproducts. And also it's a requirement that shipments be accompanied by a certificate issued by the competent authority of the exporting country. So check the authority in your country, get the certificate from them, and come with it in Romania, along with all the materials. Until harmonization is finalized, certain member state import requirements continue to apply. In addition to the legally required EU health certificate, a number of other certificates are used in international trade. In Turkey, Turkey's agriculture economy is among the top 10 in the world, with half of the country consisting of agricultural land and nearly a quarter of the population employed in the agriculture. Companies selling to the Turkish market must submit evidence of CE market either by providing a conformity certificate from a notified body or a manufactured issue declaration of conformity, which declares compliance with all relevant standard and directive annexes. A certificate of origin certifying the country of origin of specified product is required by certain foreign country for tariff purposes, and special health certificates are required for imports of plants, plant products, live animal and livestock and animal products. Which brings us to the money that makes the world go round: tariffs and exchange rates. Tariffs are a type of tax that government impose on imports for a variety of reasons, including ways to raise revenue and to protect domestic industry. And this is another answer to our colleague's question, why we cannot export something or import something. Because the state said so. Because it is in the interest of that state not to have this kind of product competing with its own, or it must comply with a quota of higher bodies like certain types of union. For the European Union, it's certainly the case. In Romania, the sad case for me particularly are the apples. Romania is the kingdom, is the heaven of the apples and pears, grusha. And nevertheless, in the supermarkets shelves, we found mainly Polish apples from Poland, which we love very much. But their apples are not so good, not taste that good that ours. I joke. So it's the same thing with sugar. Romania used to be at the beginning of 90s, one of the most resourceful countries in terms of sugar production. And now everything collapsed or was collapsed. And one of the reasons after 2007, after our entrance in the EU Union, was that we had quotas. We are not allowed to export sugar in the EU. And it's mandatory for us to import sugar from other countries in EU. And this example can continue. The average applied global tariff for agriculture is about 10%. This is a quota you should remember. And the effect of tariff will be lower GDP and lower employment in the long run. So a country should tailor its policy as a trade-off between gains and these problems with lowering the employment rate and GDP. The tariffs will also make the EU tax code less progressive because the increased tax burden would fall hardest on the lower and middle income household. So when you buy a product, the price you pay comprises the tariff that that country imposes for that product import. Exchange rates and national Black Sea regional agriculture trade determine the wedge between the domestic and foreign prices of a traded good. I think we all around Black Sea trade and cultivate and grow tomatoes. Okay, and nevertheless, on the shelves in Romania, in Bulgaria, Turkish tomatoes prevailed mostly. I understand in winter times because they have that wonderful Cappadocia with their storage qualities, and all their summer production is wonderfully stored and then transported for the buyers, for the consumers all over the world. Why should I eat Turkish tomatoes in summer or in July, yes, or in August? With all respect for the brilliant Turkish légumiculture, la culture de la légume. So countries with undervalued exchange rates, depending on the level of such depreciation, can have their bound and applied tariffs being increased in greater proportion than the notified tariffs. Countries with overvalued exchange rates, depending on the level of such appreciation, can have their bound and applied tariffs reduced or nullified to negative levels, implying that the country is granting a stimulus to import and waiving the tariff protection level, negotiating with the World Trade Organization. So you can imagine big words have been said, but the tariff and exchange rates are to be negotiated with the WTO, WTO, and between countries. And it's a political decision, but also is a marketing decision at national level. And of course, it's subject of what? Lobbying. Lobbying. Who can lobby the exchange rates or the tariffs? Who lobbies? Who lobbied in Romania these exchange tariffs that Turkish tomatoes are cheaper for me to buy than Romanian tomatoes in my own country? What happened? Just please.
It's also dictated by the economy. If, for example, in one country, the labor is cheaper, then the final product is cheaper. So it's preferred.
Okay, but I'm not talking about the price, the overall price. The cost, the price and the cost is the exchange tariff. So nevertheless, this exchange tariff is an added value to the okay.
Some of these tariffs are regulated by international
WTO,
agreements,
yes.
and it's not so big possibilities to
escape.
Yes.
Yes.
But sometimes it's possible, and if there are some for some products, and this is associations and with connection with some political parties that try to do this in the local level, these things, but it's not so. It's not very often situation. Mostly it's regulated today by international regulations.
Okay, so as you can understand, the price of a foreign product you buy in your country is settled within a very rather rigid framework of policies, agreements, and the last but not the least, the needs, the consumer needs. And of course, the quality of the products, because this could be, please give the microphone to Mariam.
Yes, it's regulated, but also sometimes it's also political issue. For example, Georgia can make special tariffs for imported products to protect the local market.
with other countries which have subsidies for agricultural production, because we mostly do not have subsidies, but because of some political reasons, Georgia does not make subsidies with Turkey, for example, neither because we are in difficult political situation, and because of that they prefer not to talk about these tariffs
Yes.
and taxes, and this also often this political situation also influences international trade, and sometimes also it's interests of some groups, importers, and some such types of negotiations which are beyond our control often. Thank you.
So it's a little bit discouraging field of discussion. So I will pass because this is very particular, customized along the region, the Black Sea region, and discuss about payments. Payments are the condition that both party agrees upon for making an international payment. And you should agree on if the payment is made before or after the shipment of the goods, how the funds are transferred, and who is considered the owner of the goods of the different stages of the transaction / transportation. There are 5 methods, main methods of making international payments: prepayment, cash in advance. Who uses this from your experience when importing something, when exporting? Letters of credit, documentary collection, open account, and consignment. These are the main payment instruments, and they are each described in the manual with their definition and strengths and disadvantages. So the prepayment, I will not bother you with the detail. The documentary collection with the 2 types, service of documents against payment, against acceptance, open account, the consignment. And I will stay a little bit more on this recapitulation of the information regarding the payment and focus on the payment risk. The payment risk must be understood from the importer and exporter point of view. So at the left, you have the least secure, and the right, the most secure payment methods for the importer. For the importer, consignment is the less secure, and the most secure is cash in advance. For the exporter, cash in advance, of course, is more secure, and consignment is less secure, and consignment is most secure. Documentary collections are somehow neutral and involve equal risk for each part. Other payment methods you might encounter and use are bank payment obligation and confirmed letters of credit issued by importers' banks and verified by another bank. This, how do I, an entrepreneur, decide what is best for me? What is the Romanian experience? When you import, let's say, acetate from other parties, other countries, from Georgia or Russia, or how do you pay? Cash in advance, yes? And this is, you consider this okay with you? For you, the importer. Okay. And other experience? Bank payment and yes. The consignation, yes. Yes, so these So these instruments have are flexible within a time frame, and they are to be chosen depending of the product. You will choose something to export, let's say, cereals, and another instrument if you want to export, let's say, strawberries or very short date expiration products. Who do you think, in your opinion, is more available to take the risk of a payment, an advance payment? In your countries, large entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs? Yes. Thank you. Another issue in international trade is the transportation of goods, to move the goods towards their future owner. And this brings into the scene, onto the floor, a strange persona named freight forwarder or forwarding agents, who are responsible for arranging the movements of the goods from a point to another. And transport companies, of course, who ensure safe and fast shipping. So you must know them, you must contact them, and you must know that they also comply with some regulations, as the carriage of goods by the sea, established in Hamburg in 1978, also known as Hamburg Rules, that establish that a single legal regime governing the rights of obligation of shippers, carriers, and consignees under a contract for the carriage of goods by the sea. So considering the Hamburg Rules, the United Nations Convention on Contacts for the International Carriage of Goods, wholly or partly by sea, a strange, long name, established in New York in 2008, also known as the Rotter Ladies Rules, was developed and establishes a uniform and modern legal regime governing the rights and obligations of the shippers, carriers, and consignees under a door-to-door transportation agreement, including an international maritime legislation. So we have the Hamburg Rules, the Rotter Ladies Rules, the Rotterdam Rules provide a legal framework that consider many of the technological and commercial developments that have taken place in maritime transport since the adoptions of earlier conventions. So these rules should be obeyed, and you must ensure that your agent has the qualification and is agreed and complies and he is accredited as your national law underlines. The regulation from transportation are listed, as you see, are accessible for reading and commenting in the materials. The short case study refers to a short example of a juicy fruit and vegetable company from Bulgaria, who is in process of negotiating a contract to sell a large volume of fruits and vegetables to an overseas buyer in Romania, not very overseas, or Armenia or Georgia. The buyer is not well known to the company. Reference checks do not indicate any negative information, but indicate that the buyer has been in the business for 3 years. The buyer has already refused company's request to pay in advance. Company does not want to lose this opportunity since the order is for a large quantity and could be the beginning of a long-term agreement. So answer the questions below. What method of payment should juicy fruits and vegetables request? Why? And investigate the optimal variant for transportation of the goods to the buyer's premises. This is not a homework for you. This is just an example of a case study that you might offer to your future students. And in order to answer that, you should have a strong reference in the national legislation. So it's a very customized case study, because the answer will not be the same for the pair Romania, Bulgaria, Bulgaria, Georgia, Bulgaria, Romania, Bulgaria, United States, or either. Please.
Main criteria will be which type of decision will be more safe, or which type of decision could make more profit in future.
Both.
Both, but it's very it's not objective, it's very
yes, it's very subjective,
yeah.
Depending on the policy, depending on the time frame, depending on the season, depending of so many things. So for this case study, it's about fruit and vegetables from Bulgaria. And you can because it's not a rigid case study. It's a discussion-based study, and you are supposed to give your optimum variant based on the legislation and the current legislation in both countries, the recipient and the exporter. If you have, I'm eager to learn how you can tailor such a case study.
There's a problem when we give some marks to a student, because it's very subjective. For
Yes.
example, I will give him 10 points and you will give 5, and it's problem. Maybe to simplify this case study and make some
more rigid frame. Yes,
yeah,
it's a nice idea.
Yes, because you see, it always will be the problem.
You know, but it is this case, the same case with a business plan, with a value chain, yes. So it's a good idea. Thank you for the idea for us in the consortium to be more precise and to be more narrow in our case study, or more specific, but we don't have time. So, but it's a good point. Thank you. Very last minute addenda. We did it again. We have a war under our doors, and some relevant facts and international regulation to the war reality here in our very dear Black Sea. If you wonder what is this, this is an eclipse. And no, it's an eclipse, and I wanted, yes. Price and prejudice. Okay, these are the prices for the food per country per year. The very last year is 2022, and you see the situation. Everything is going mad, it's skyrocketing. And we can say nothing because everything is changing from minute to minute, not day to day. Still, we have a new regulation in our Black Sea regarding the cereal transportation. In 27 July in Turkey, please remark, dear Turkey friend, that I changed the name of your country as regulated recently, yes? Okay. Yes, and the purpose of this initiative is to facilitate the safe navigation for the export of grain and related foodstuff and fertilizers, including ammonia, from the ports of Odessa, Chernomorsk, and Yuzhny, so-called Ukrainian ports. So the bullet passed our heads like 3 weeks ago when Russia declared that will take part no more in this agreement, and after 3 or 4 days re-entered the agreement. So these kind of tangos will be, I think, frequently encountered here in the Black Sea. But what I can tell, this is a United Nation, under the umbrella of United Nations, and it's strongly dependent of geopolitical status. This is not an economical or international agreement as we know it, based on legislation, international law, is an initiative, a strange word that prevents parts of the world to get into famine sequences. So since July, 11 million tons of agricultural products have been shipped under this deal, including 4.5 million tons of corn and 3.2 million tons of wheat. These are the most recent data, but Russia wants more regarding fertilizers exports. So Russia, like 3 days ago, I sent you, I think like 3 days ago, or Monday or Sunday. And at that time, so a week, more or less a week ago, Russia said, okay, I stay with this initiative, but I want more for me regarding my export, fertilizers export. So tomorrow, either of the parts, I will not name them, will come with more requirements, more pretension regarding the good functioning of the trade under this initiative. It is not a law, it is not an agreement, it is not an international agreement as we know it. Everyone is interested about the sanctions for the Russia, because Russia, for each of us in the Black Sea, is or was or used to be a main partner, main trading partner. Who has something to say? Maybe Greece, but not even Greece. So Russia is a big player because of its fertilizers, because of its grains, of course, and not talking about raw materials, industrial materials and everything, just for the agriculture stuff and adjacent stuff. So everybody is interested. Okay, so we imposed sanctions on Russia. How this will affect me as a producer or as an exporter or as a farmer. And the main issue here is the cargo insurance, because main insurance companies, transportation companies, are or will not be allowed to deal with Russian transporters, and many more.
Can I ask something?
Please do, if I'm
The
able to
material and the
respond.
presentation were prepared before the war.
Yes, except these 5 slides.
So you updated the
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So
Okay, that's-
until the eclipse and after the eclipse.
yes. Okay. Thanks.
Because these law enforcements are still available since we don't have a war. There is no war declaration that will legally impact on the legal framework between the parties, any parties in any combination. So since we don't have a war legally declared and defined, the former legislation before the eclipse stays. And after the eclipse, the things can change, but as you can see, they are very fluent, let's say, for the least. So if you want to share some of your experience regarding the transportation of the goods or payments, I'm eager to learn from you. Between our countries regarding this situation with Russia, I know that in Romania was a huge struggle, like in summer and with fertilizers. And I myself, with the generous help of our Georgian partners, who gave us a list of available exporters, producers, and fertilizers exporters, we disseminated this information, and many contacts were done.
I can tell you about last experience, which was what we have with this war situation. And we are not depend on Russia in fertilizers. It's, I think, okay, but we have embargo from Russia. But instead of embargo, we have some black export to Russia also.
Black
Black
export.
export, yeah.
Goods, agriculture, or
Vegetables and fruits.
okay.
Vegetables and fruit, because this region is very close with Russia border, and there are some possibilities to cross it. But this year we have very bad situation. For example, with selling the fruits, and most of fruits are still on the trees because the price is for bulk is coming down. And why? You know that in Russia was this mobilization program, and drivers up to only drivers up to 50 years old could cross the Russia border. And that's why this black export is closed, and our this fruit sales are
Cut
going
down.
down.
So they are Russians are main buyers for your products.
They are bulk buyers, not main, but bulk buyers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because my question when I saw the data regarding the labor,
It's last 2 months.
Yes. because it was a huge, Georgia at least, I know in Kazakhstan is the same, but Georgia at least, and partly in Romania and partly in Bulgaria, this is an emerging issue, the structure of the labor market. Of course, there are a lot of refugees with medium and higher education accomplished.
Yeah.
This is another profile. These are not agricultural workers, but still a lot of them come from the more, let's say, less advantaged regions of Ukraine, the eastern part of Ukraine, which is traditionally with low income and with high agricultural profile, and they are willing to offer their work skill to the to our countries. Do you have this kind of problem in Georgia?
From
Russians?
Ukraine and Russia, this type of peoples are don't
No,
come,
not come to Georgia.
We have more high educated and high income
Yes, this kind of people.
persons, and most of them are today online workers, and so it's another problem because price for living in Georgia now is not for Georgians.
Yes, yes.
Yes, it's extremely everything. It's extremely expensive.
They change everything.
And for Georgian citizenships, and I don't know. Georgia today is not for Georgians.
Actually, Valentina, I also can share experience, especially with the labor force, but not in this sector, not in the agrarian sector. Let's say approximately 7 years ago, we started to feel lack of usual workers in the tourism, like dishwashers, waiters, even cooks, usual professions, but Bulgarians started to refuse to work such type of profession. So we started to import, let's call it, workers for the summer, mostly for the summer seasons over the sea coast, and also for the winter season, ski season in the mountain resorts. And we imported, so to say, workers from Ukraine, Moldova, as you said, also other countries, most not so economically advanced regions. And they were making pretty good job here. I mean, we had no problem with that. After the war, the migrants, the refugees that came, they were different type of people, even from same nations, like Ukrainians, but also from other countries. They were coming from Moldova, from Georgia, from Ukraine, from Moldova, 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 from but people with higher qualification, respectively higher demand for a job, and not willing to work in tourism in lower levels. There is even not a word to work in the agriculture. Never.
Yes, so
And
the same thing is
we offer
in Romania.
jobs, they do not accept the
Yes,
jobs.
yes. It's a well-known fact that production factors as capital and labor are the most difficult to export and to import. Okay, the banks, the international banks or international societies as Société Générale have this experience in many countries. But the labor phenomenon is the same. The former Eastern countries were providers of highly qualified labor and lower qualified labor for the Western Europe. And now they are the target for the Asian and South Asian laborers who come and replace the gap and fill in the gap. In Romania, in very close to the Black Sea, what's considered Black Sea region in Romania, we have a situation where farmers bring in up 20, up to 50 people from Thailand, Taiwan, Thailand, Southeast Asia. Philippines as well, and it's easier and it's cheaper for them to build some basic accommodation as rooming, some sort of TV, common TV, and to pay them because including the cost for the employer, how do you say the intermediate that brings the intermediate? Yes. Okay, then to hire Romanian locals who don't want to work, who don't know how to work. And these people come like for 3 months, they work like 100 hours per day. They need except food, sleep, and basic water facilities, plumbing. They need nothing else. They need no distraction, no entertainment. And go home, rest, have a rest, and then return for another season. So this is the scheme. Yes, you may call it, and this is one of the issue of international trade, the labor trade. So we think that international trade is that I have like something, two apples, and I want to bring them in Turkey or in Poland, my apples or my cutlery or my whatever tea. And it seems that the biggest problem in this world is the labor. International
in
trade.
ancient time it called slavery, but
Yes, we will not comment.
Now we are making it packaged
Fluffy.
like marketing, and we're calling it labor in the market.
But still we paid. And they have the right to return.
You
the
know,
right to refuse.
and they are paid some kind of cents when they have to have, for example, thousands of euros. Like a slavery, they had some bread, and that was all.
Let's tell the Western civilization this. Let's tell France, Portuguese, United States.
Yeah, it's slavery, not.
And Great Britain.
I think
the Great Britain was in this situation. And thanks to the Virginia,
And still it affects the final price of the product because the labor is
yes, returning to
cheap.
the discussion of the first two modules or second, because it was the idea, what are the consumer patterns? What is the philosophy behind this? Consumers and quality and fashion and flair. I think these were commodities increased by this conception and this kind of cheap labor you can find in the eastern part of the world. We will not be, this is a big discussion. It's not under my knowledge.
Let us also give possibility to opportunity to the Armenian participants to comment or to ask questions on the topic. I see no one active right now. Lilith, if there is someone that you can see who would like to say a few words, please give me
I
a
think
sign.
the presentation was um, pretty detailed, and I still think about what I just heard. So
Yes, and it has a lot of readings too, by the way. There are a lot of conventions
I
and
believe-
codes to be read to get maybe the bigger picture, but it was quite well outlined, I believe, and at least our trainees will know where to search for the information they need.
As a
in
closure,
further
if you
details.
if you allow me, I
Sure.
myself thought, okay, I'm an entrepreneur, young or old, or experienced or not. I work with agriculture product. What am I to do if I want to expand? What are my lessons to bring with me home after 5 days module, 5 days more or less? Yes, 4 or 5 days module of training. And the idea is not to read everything, all these references. It's a crazy thing. It's a university, it's a PhD endeavor. The idea is to have a hint and regarding your target, to read only those 2, 3, 4 regulations that are in your focus. So what you have in this guide is not you must read everything in order to have a passing mark. No, they are just for reference. So if Miss here has an issue with the cutlery, she will study only this kind of specification. And that thing with 10%. This is all the only thing you can bring with you. Thank you for understanding and for understanding my miserable state that cut off my energy. Thank you for your understanding again.
Thank you, Valentina. Applauses for the last one for today.